Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline Changes report for the past 24 hours, generally for the 26th of February. So we have quite a huge amount of frontline change, and it all comes because of the pro-Russian source, Ryba, became very hardworking these 2 days and published a lot of mappings and update the Russian version or Russian perspective of where the front line is. So, and first thing first is you need to press the like button and subscribe. Particularly for those that do not know, I'm trying to get to 100k. Come on, 100k. So subscribe, help me subscribe. Half of you guys don't subscribe, and this which is why like, oh no, click the like button. It is no, you have to shoot it. Kill the YouTube soldier. Oh my God, thanks God, thank God, thank you for killing him by pressing the like button. Oh my God, all these YouTube suppression soldiers constantly attacking us. Actually they are attacking you. I'm just in the way. I'm just in the way of good information, accurate information. Like they don't want you to know. They want you to watch Denis Davidov, yeah, and war and reporting from Ukraine. And yeah. Anyway, we're going to start off with the Kursk front. The Kursk front, we have some major updates based on the Russian mapping. And we zoom in over in the western flank. We have the Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reporting that the Russian forces have basically straightened the front line along the water body, which makes a lot of sense, around Dvorichna. And they have also allegedly taken half of Lebedevka, according to the Russians' version of the events. And this could also be a corroboration to the reports of possible fighting at Yuzhny, because this is firm control, right? So the gray zone would be beyond that, so there could be an attack. That's a possibility. So there's some frontline change around there. Of course, the Ukrainian mapping is largely different. You can see the front line for the Ukrainians is very far away from the Russian ones. So just take that into account that the Russian mapping could be wrong. Because people are always very positive about their own chances and things. So in the northern flank, we have quite a number of change. So we focus on Olovka, Dvorichna region first. First, we have the Ukrainian mapping, Deep State UA acknowledging that they have lost the territory on the west of Olovka. So this is confirmed by Ukrainian mapping. However, Russian mapping have shown in their mapping that the Russian forces have actually control over this forest region, or these windbreakers in the south of Novaya Sorokina and north of Staraya Sorokina, basically in between. So this is an interesting situation, because if this is true, Ukrainian forces is pretty have their logistics cut off for them. They have to go around rather than going straight through, because the Russians have control around the region between the two villages. So that is a possibility, but we do not know. As you can see, the front line here is super complicated because a lot of conflicting information or conflicting mappings. So anyway, that's the front line changes over at this sector. North of this region here, Ukrainian mapping have also acknowledged that they have lost everything north of Merevka and Pogrebki. So the Russian forces basically confirmed to have taken all of these areas here in the north, signifying that the furthest edge, the furthest point of the front line has been reduced by the Russian forces in the Russian offensive operations. So, and nearby around Nedenov, the Russian mapping have mapped that they have a more straightened front line along here in this region here. So the Russian forces have advanced and basically threatened to squeeze the Ukrainians from the other side towards Malaya Loknya. So that's the situation in this sector. So that's the northern flank, the frontline changes in the northern flank. Over in the Sudja region, in the central flank, there is also major frontline changes here. Over in the Agronom region, Russian forces basically, according to the Russian mapping, have actually taken positions all along this gully region, linking up to the water body between Dvorichna and Agronov, and taking control of all the railway lines, all leading up to Ruskaya Konopelka. So this is the expectations from the Russian of where the front line actually is, which also could potentially explain why there is fighting reported towards Komarkov and sometimes towards Merne. So that is the situation. Bondarevka, the last attack was 19th to 20th, so this could all potentially be accurate. Merne, the last report was on the 21st, pretty recent. So this is a possible front line. I wouldn't say this is absolutely accurate per se, because I do not know what's the reality, but this makes some sense because this is defensive positions, and rather than the front line being in the open ground, this makes a lot of sense. So south of this position, around Cherkasskaya Konopelka, just off Manovka, Russian mapping have mapped that the Russian forces basically have secured Cherkasskaya Konopelka and basically taking all of the forests in the south of Manovka, and basically setting up a very strong and good position towards Manovka. And of course, this is just now where we have talked about just now, where the Russian forces have basically come close to Komarkov. And looking at this position, Ukrainian forces are probably holding out in these various areas, which looks pretty vulnerable in my opinion. So anyway, that's it from the Kursk front. This is all the frontline changes in the Kursk front. So quite a bit, but these are all Russian claims. So the next frontline change, we jump all the way to the Dvorichna front. And this area here similarly have seen a lot of frontline change because of the Russian mapping updates. So we have to similarly break into parts because this is just a huge front line. Over at Vyholivka, the Russian forces, Russian mapping have mapped that the Russian forces basically have secured a good buffer around Vyholivka, reflecting their position that Vyholivka is captured by the Russian forces. So this is the front line around here. The difference is around 400 to 500 meters in terms of our previous front line to where they have marked the front line currently. South of Vyholivka, around Dvorichna, you can see that the Russian forces basically have secured almost the entire of the city, including the northern forest, the northwestern forest lines, as well as basically all of the central Dvorichna. And so this basically reflects the Russian Defense Ministry's position that Dvorichna has been captured by the Russian forces. There is still a little bit here, which is probably gray zone, where the Ukrainians potentially could keep sending forces here on counterattacks, which is why maybe the Russian mapping do not want to just jump ahead and just conclude that this is entirely under Russian control. So this is Dvorichna. If I zoom in, you can see that they did not fully capture everything per se, but in the north there is some strong positions in the forest. So definitely this is still a very contested region. Around Zapatne, the Russian mapping have also mapped that they have expanded control around the giant forest north of Zapatne, and are also expanding control, taking the forest patch on the west of Zapatne, so creating a very strong buffer in this sector. The southern forest, forest south of Zapatne is also allegedly taken by the Russian forces, according to the Russian source. So this creates a very strong defensive position at Zapatne for the Russian forces. But again, these are all just Russian claims, So just important to understand that this is just Russian claims. In the south of this position around Kalinove, a similar situation. The Russian mapping have mapped that the Russian forces basically have cut the highway in the south of Zapatne, as well as getting closer, much closer to Kindrashivka, capturing the big forest southwest of Kalinove as well as everything along the Oskil River on the eastern shores of the Oskil River has been taken. So, and there's also another forest here, northeast of Kindrashivka, also allegedly have taken by the Russian forces. So this is a huge amount of frontline change, but it does reflect possibilities of Russian forces, why the Russians are reportedly attacking towards Kindrashivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So this move is around 2 kilometers, 1.9, 1.8 kilometers. So this is a very huge frontline change, but definitely is totally not reflected on the Ukrainian mapping. So we're going to have to wait for more information, more corroboration and Ukrainian concessions before we can confirm that the Russians indeed have pushed this far out. So that's all from Kalinove, and this is the frontline changes at the Dvorichna front. And the next frontline change, we go all the way to Chasiv. At the Bakhmut front, there is some slight frontline change. So this is Bakhmut, Chasiv is here. And at Chasiv, there is geolocation, or Russian forces basically have advanced in the northern part of the industrial plant. So some frontline change around here. The battle of Chasiv continues. It's constantly reported by both sides that there is fighting around here. To the front line, I can't even see. It's around 260 meters. So that's about it in Chasiv. The next frontline change is for Ukrainians at the Pokrov front at Kotline. Ukrainian mapping have claimed that they have taken back most of Kotline. Deep State UA have mapped like this, that the entire northern part of Kotline has been taken. However, they considered that the Russians have the control of the southern street across the railway line. So Ukrainian mapping have mapped that the Ukrainians have done very, very well in retaking this position in the massive counterattack. These are part of the wide spectrum and collective operations, in counter-offensive across the Ukrainian front line. This is not the only place that the Ukrainians counterattack. They also counterattack at Toretsk and all over all the other places in the Ukraine war. So this is the localized version one over here at Kotline. So the frontline change is pretty big. It's around 1.2 kilometers on average. So let's see how this goes, because this is definitely not acknowledged on the Russian mapping. And then we go to the one last frontline change over Andriivka. So geolocation confirmed the Russian forces have advanced further along this street where the Ukrainians was previously put it into the gray zone, but the geolocation continued to show that the Russians are indeed over here. Russian reports saying that Andriivka is on the verge of capture. According to Ryba, the Russian source say that no, Andriivka is almost completely liberated according to their information. So it's advanced towards Alexievka through the system of stronghold to the north. So whatever it is, so let's see how these continue to play out. And so that's it from the frontline changes. And we need to do our usual mathematics to see how these continue to play out. And let's choose Dvorichna as our background then. I think this is cool. Okay, so I'll drop the black box in, and you can see now much more clearly the total area captured. The biggest, of course, is at Kursk. So the Kursk front contributed a huge amount of grounds because of Loknya itself. Like this is already 6.26 square kilometers. Dvorichna is another 1. And then we have the big chunk here is 3.33. This is 5.14. So in combination, the Kursk front just contributes huge amount of frontline change. The second, of course, is Dvorichna. All these updates from the Russian mapping is just huge. Frontline changes all across from Vyhorivka, Dvorichna, Zapalny, and Kalinove. So this is just massive frontline changes. So let's do some mathematics and calculation. The Ukrainians have one frontline change, which is over at Pokrov, the one I already just mentioned in the Pokrov front, where the Ukrainians fought at Kotline, counterattack. But that's also a claim, just like the Russian one. These are all claims. So that's Pokrov. So let's count the Russian capture. 25.11 plus 14.86 plus 0.11 plus 0.09. And the total area captured is 40 square kilometers. 40.17 square kilometers, which is huge. Very, 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 very huge for a 24-hour period frontline change. But of course, we can all imagine many of this is actually just unreported frontline changes over the past 1-2 weeks. But of course, these are almost entirely all Russian claims. So even the Ukrainian capture is Ukrainian claims. So take them with a pinch of salt. And also someone in the comments asked, because of the way how I do the calculation, wouldn't there be double calculation? And the answer is yes, because all these calculation of frontline changes is just for entertainment purposes. These are not reality. This is just information based on the sources that we have. And so it's just simply for us to get a sense of the trend of how the war is going on. So we have the Russian claims, and then later the next day, maybe the Ukrainians corroborate the same area that is captured or claimed to be captured by the Russian forces. So that number will appear again. So it will be double counted. So that's why I say, don't be over obsessed with these numbers. These are just for entertainment purposes. It's just for us to get a sense of the trend of the war. So it's not really, scientific or very technical, in nature. So don't get too obsessed about it. This, like I said, it's just a nice thing to have, just to get a sense. Like for me, it's a bit of extra work, but I also find it like, it's interesting to have a sense of, how the things is going. So anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.